We want to turn our attention right now to Minnesota as it is day 2 of the manhunt for the suspect accused in shooting the state rep Melissa Horton and her husband early morning hours on Saturday. And of course, we're learning more details here on Live Now from Fox as the suspect's vehicle has been found southwest of the Twin Cities. But we're also seeing some support coming from the governor, Tim Walz, saying the most consequential speaker in state history, talking about the now late representative there. You can see the picture. Also, the FBI increasing the reward in the search for this individual there. As we're following it very closely here on Live Now from Fox. Vance Boelter's vehicle found in Sibley County. Let's be joined right now here on Live Now from Fox on the ground southwest of the Twin Cities by Fox 9 reporter Babs Santos. Babs, thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. What can you tell us about the location and any indication law enforcement, any keys, any evidence they have found inside of that vehicle?
Well, yes, first, we are southwest of the Twin Cities in Sibley County. It's worth pointing out, according to our reporting so far during this manhunt, yes, the suspect vehicle has been found here, but just one of possibly multiple vehicles that suspect has. Here in Sibley County, there are just too many police officers to even count. We've also seen some people just stopping on the side of the road using binoculars, trying to get a vision of what's going on over there. But you'll see, even with our television camera right now, it's very far beyond us, so it's hard to see exactly what's happening. We are standing near the intersection of State Highway 25 and 291st Avenue. And earlier, many people saw just a convoy of law enforcement making its way towards Sibley County. It was too many vehicles to count. That, of course, after law enforcement earlier discovered a hat on the side of the road, which they say resembled a hat worn by their suspect, Vance Boelter. Now, this morning, authorities issued several emergency alerts coming to phones of people in the area. We now know that was because they also discovered, yes, the suspect's vehicle on the road. We were able to pull to the side of the road and talk to a sheriff deputy who allowed us to get closer, take some pictures of that vehicle, but nowhere near close enough to be able to tell you what was inside of it. In the meantime, though, that emergency alert did ask people in this area to stay indoors and to keep their vehicles locked. So meanwhile, we are just staying beyond the police perimeter and waiting to hear more.
Yeah, it's so very interesting, and you mentioned that there's very little information, although the vehicle there for the suspect. Have you heard from any residents? I know it's a rural part of Minnesota. Are people concerned because there was an alert that went out on people's phones to keep their homes locked, their vehicles locked? Have you spoken to any residents on the ground?
Yeah, well, Andy, if you see here in maybe 10 seconds, there's actually even a couple of side-by-sides and golf carts coming by. Yes, that alert went out, but talking to law enforcement in the area, they told us they do feel like people might not be taking it as seriously as they might have hoped for, just because this is a more rural area, more rural part of the state, and people are used to being outdoors and doing whatever it is they're going to do on a Sunday like this one. So we have talked with some residents. We spoke with one homeowner in Green Isle who just expressed that she hoped that this would be resolved soon. But other than that, people are still out and about. Plenty of people even on this road watching from afar, trying to see what's happening down there.
All right, very good. And I just want to ask you for our national audience, because we were talking about some of the scenes, the location of the representative's home in Brooklyn Park, and then also the area that this suspect, Vance Boelter, rented a home in Minneapolis, kind of the southwest side, and now you're further southwest, kind of between the Twin Cities and Mankato. These locations, they're not close to one another. Can you kind of set a sense of that?
Well, it sounds like from that Brooklyn Park area to the Minneapolis home was only about 6 or 7 miles, but actually just now I even looked on my phone here, and it's telling me from that Brooklyn Park area to where we are now is about an hour away, about 50 miles. So from that original crime scene to the home where they got another vehicle, only a short distance, but obviously then after getting into that vehicle, they drove quite a way, about an hour away to where that car was ultimately found here in Sibley County.
I want my last question before I let you go here, Babs, is just talk about the scene, because we heard from Tim Walz, other officials saying they're concerned for people getting out and about because he had allegedly a manifesto, a list of other potential targets. Is there a sense that lawmakers are concerned? And can you talk about that? Is there a tenseness on the ground in Minnesota for officials and otherwise that this person is still on the loose?
Yes, I think there's no doubt that this is a very serious matter that they're taking very seriously. I know several lawmakers around the state have had extra security because of this over the weekend. Here, specifically in Sibley County, many roads are shut down. People might have a harder time getting from point A to point B, but other than that, it's really on each resident to take that emergency alert seriously and stay indoors and just wait this thing out.
All right, very good. Vance Santos, thank you so much. I appreciate your time reporting there from Sibley County. We appreciate you. As always, we'll be tuning into Fox 9 as they continue their coverage as well. Thanks again. All right, thank you so much. All right, great conversation there right now as the manhunt stretches into day number 2. The FBI putting out this as you're talking about some of the tip line information, 877-996-6222. Of course, Vance Boelter in a lightly colored cowboy hat, potentially the hat they found on the side of the road. Also the dark colored long sleeve collared shirt, light pants, and a dark bag. So this was the information we were getting yesterday from authorities. This, the most recent one, saying the FBI is now offering up to a $50,000 reward for the information leading to the capture and conviction of Vance Boelter, who was wanted in the connection with yesterday's shootings in Champlin and also in Brooklyn Park. And of course, they haphazardly came on the home of that Representative Melissa Hortman and others, her husband tragically losing their lives as they search for the 57-year-old. I do want to give you a sense of what we're looking at, just the timeline of events leading up to the recovery of the suspect's vehicle dating back to more than 24 hours ago. Here's our Fox 9 team that talks about some context, the timeline of what we saw here over this weekend in Minnesota.
Saturday morning when a 911 call was made in Champlin. Police responded to Senator John Hoffman's home and found he and his wife Yvette had been shot. Both were rushed to the hospital and underwent surgery. Then about an hour and a half later, Brooklyn Park police proactively went to check on Representative Melissa Hortman's home. There they found a man dressed as an officer with a fake police vehicle. The suspect shot at officers and ran away. By 5:30 a.m., a shelter-in-place alert was sent out by Brooklyn Park Police telling anyone within a 3-mile radius of the Edinburgh Golf Course to stay in their homes. At about 6 o'clock Saturday morning, the suspect stopped by a home near 49th and Fremont in Minneapolis, where residents say he rented a room. Security cameras capturing new images of the suspect dressed in casual clothing with a cowboy hat.
We're here today because an unspeakable tragedy has unfolded in Minnesota.
At 9:45, Governor Tim Walz announced that Representative Hortman and her husband Mark were both killed in what he's calling a politically motivated assassination. At 11 o'clock, authorities and the governor urging people to not attend any scheduled rallies until after the suspect is in custody. An hour and a half later, officials in Champlin said there was no current threat to the public. Then by 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon, the Associated Press identified the suspect as 57-year-old Vance Boelter. The scene at the Hoffman's home in Champlin was cleared by 1:30. Around 1:45, the Minneapolis home where Boelter rented a room was searched by investigators. Then by 3 p.m., authorities confirmed Boelter as a suspect in the case and asked for the public's help in locating him. At 3:20, nearly 12 hours after officers first encountered Boelter, Brooklyn Park authorities lifted the shelter-in-place order, believing he is out of that immediate area around the Hortman home. At 3:50, the Hennepin County Medical Examiner confirms both Melissa and Mark Hortman died of multiple gunshot wounds. It was around 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon the FBI announced a $50,000 reward for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Boelter. By 9 p.m. Saturday night, family members confirm Yvette Hoffman is awake and alert.
All right, good news there in terms of those other individuals shot by this individual. They are looking for the suspect in the reward now up to some $50,000. And you can see some of this as the 911 call was made from Champlin, 2 a.m. police talking about this. The Senator Hoffman and his wife, Yvette, had been shot. Of course, they are both recovering after undergoing surgery at the hospital. Of course, Yvette Hoffman dove in front of her children to protect her from the gunman. So obviously some positive news in terms of that, but the manhunt continues on involving this individual. The reward has increased, and they have identified or found this, what they're believing to be the vehicle's suspect southwest of Minnesota. This is a live picture right now. Let's take you right now out to a conversation our Fox 9 team had with the senator out of Minnesota, Tina Smith, here on Live Now from Fox. Let's listen into this here as it continues on.
Senator, I'm so sorry for the loss of your friend and colleague. Just what's going through your mind as you received this news yesterday?
Well, thank you, Leah. I'm so grateful to have a chance to talk a little bit about Melissa because she was such an extraordinary person. I honestly am still having a hard time processing that she is not, that she and Mark are gone. And my heart is so with their children and their whole family. You know, we were all together on Friday night. We have our big Democratic Party dinner on Friday. It was the Humphrey Mondale dinner. And so I saw Melissa and Mark and also Senator Hoffman and his wife Yvette, and we exchanged hugs, and we're so happy to be together. And then to imagine the horror of what unfolded just a few hours later it's hard to grapple with. I'm sure you've had the opportunity to talk to Melissa in your job, and you know her. Everybody knew her to be just smart and strategic and very funny, had a great witty sense of humor. She took her work very seriously, but didn't take herself seriously. And I think that that's one of the reasons why she was such an effective legislator and so respected, not only by Democrats, but also by Republicans. And her loss is just hard to fathom. And to see it happen in this vicious and politically motivated way makes it so hard.
Yes, and I know we have a photo, a beautiful photo of Representative Hortman and her husband Mark at that event on Friday, and that's a tradition. Is that an annual event that folks go to? And like you said, just to think of those were your last words and the last time being in the room with her. Was there anything strange about that night? I mean, security for an event like that has to be massive.
We have very good security for these events. This is an annual dinner. It has well over 1,000 people. It's the Humphrey Mondale dinner, and it is a gathering of organizers and activists and elected leaders and supporters of Democrats all over the state. So people come from, far northern Minnesota and the southeastern and southwestern corners, and it's an opportunity for us all to come together. And there are lots of big political speeches. And it was, of course, for many of us, it was an opportunity to see people. I'm in Washington much of the time, so it was wonderful for me to be able to see Melissa, who had just finished, negotiating with the governor and other legislators. What had been a challenging legislative session, and getting that budget negotiated. She looked relieved and relaxed, and I'm happy to be there with friends and her husband Mark. And you can see in this picture just like their happiness being together.
Yeah, it is a beautiful photo and smiling, and we're thankful that the folks at the DFL party will be able to share this photo with us. As this unfolded yesterday, we spoke with some lawmakers who, I know you can only say so much and want to keep everyone safe, but, law enforcement being sent to state lawmakers' homes to watch guard over all of you. Can you talk to us a little bit about how this has unfolded as we were receiving, what little information the law enforcement and investigators could safely give us, but from a safety standpoint for you and your family and other lawmakers, how this has unfolded this weekend?
Well, I first heard about this tragedy first thing yesterday morning when I woke up at around 7:15, and I heard about the shooting. We didn't know yet exactly what had happened, but we knew that it sounded very, very bad. The governor had reached out to me in the very early hours of the morning, and within a short period of time, I had protection for myself and my family here. Of course, we knew that there had been this list of other potential targets in this assassin's vehicle, and my name was on that list. And so, of course, you have feelings of concern about the safety and security of the people that are around you and yourself in this moment. I want to just say that the response of law enforcement, Minneapolis Police Department, Hennepin County, and others has just been remarkable, and I am so grateful for what they are doing to not only execute this massive manhunt for this assassin, but also do what they can do to keep everybody safe so that this nightmare doesn't get any worse. Their quick response in the middle of the night on Saturday morning, Friday night, to what was, I think, instrumental in making sure that this man, this alleged shooter, didn't get any further in his mayhem.
That is a sobering realization to know that you were on this list by this suspect. Does that change anything moving forward? I know you're already, and you and other lawmakers are already so careful in how, you know, you're going to a press event and the timing of when you share where your location and when those things are going to take place. But you're a public figure. How will this change things moving forward?
Well, we're assessing that right now. It's hard to know for sure. It's horrible for me to think that my ability to move around the state, to be with my constituents and to do the things that I would normally do as a senator. I'm just a normal human being who goes to the grocery store and goes to have dinner with my kids and works in the backyard in my garden, that somehow that would be circumscribed, or I wouldn't have the same freedom and flexibility. Of course, it's important also that I stay safe. And I think not only of myself, but of all of the other people who, you know, make the commitment and also the sacrifice to serve in public life. So we are still just figuring this out. But I hope that this will be a tipping point where we can understand that we need to step away from this violence and this idea that we resolve in this country our differences not through violence, but through talk and through legislation and through the way that we govern ourselves, and not through taking the law into our own hands in such a violent and terrible way.
Yes, and we know it must be a scary thought to know that the authorities still looking for this suspect.
All right, just listening in there, Tina Smith joining our Fox 9 team earlier on today to discuss the latest, as the senator's name was also on this hit list for this suspect, as we're following the latest here on Live Now from Fox.